In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, and welcome to America in Black and White, the show where we don't run from the hard conversations, we run toward them. I'm your host, Charles King, and tonight we're trying to bring you a conversation that is equal parts inspiration, transformation, and elevation. Tonight's guest is a man who has worn many hats, not just worn them, but mastered each one. A former professional basketball player who traded courts in Japan for classrooms in America. A CEO who built a company where STEAM, dreams, and digital dance coverage will converge. An educator who has touched over 11,000 students and young professionals. A published author and advocate whose work is shaping the next generation of thinkers, creators, and doers. But what makes tonight's conversation even more special is the story behind the story, the influence of a father, the weight of Black history, the power of purpose, and the transformation of a man who refused to let his story end at the final buzzer. Course development, game development, esports, comics, publishing, international exchange programs, and what it truly means to build something from the ground up. We're talking about what it means to be Black in America and what it means to carry that legacy forward with intentionality, excellence, and love. America, this is not just a show. This is a movement, and tonight we add another chapter. Please welcome to America in Black and White, entrepreneur, educator, CEO, author, advocate, and living proof that your greatest season is always still ahead, Mr. Jerone Dodd Jr. Welcome to the show, sir.
Man, that was a great introduction, brother. I appreciate it, man. I was just sitting back reflecting on everything you were saying there. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. So, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get going?
Not really. I'm just, like I said, excited to be here and shout out to the platform and to you and to everyone that's supporting and anyone that's watching now. We definitely want to have some candid conversation. So I'm just looking forward to getting into it.
Well, I'd like to say hello to everyone that's watching and those that are always here that's able to be here and watch the show. Our everyday supporters, we appreciate you. And I just want to say, well, we got a couple of comments here where people in the chat are saying hello. And so we want to say hello to everyone, and we're going to get rolling into the show. I want to start with your personal journey and your life story. Take us back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and what was it like? What was life like for a young man as you was growing up?
Okay, let's take it back. So I was born in Toledo, Ohio. I'm a junior, second child. Have an older brother and two younger sisters. So my first few years were actually in the Midwest, Ohio, and then all of our family moved to Detroit. But I actually lived in Toledo, Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a very short stint. But I really grew up in Georgia, Atlanta, Decatur, to be specific, Stone Mountain, I went to Rainbow Elementary. I was part of the first class to graduate from Chapel Hill Middle School, and I went to Southwest DeKalb High School. So, I grew up in a decent neighborhood, but also having the hood right up the street, right next door, basically. So, very close to school. We used to walk to school. So we always were able to intermingle with the environment and the people, which is kind of a really big difference in growing up back then and now. But yeah, cut my teeth, high school, played a bunch of sports. Actually, one year I went to school in Detroit, Cass Tech High School, which is a very esteemed school. I stayed with my aunt, Geralda. Shout out, Geralda. What's up? But yeah, man, eventually I ended up taking a scholarship to play basketball at Morehouse College, where I excelled on the court. Off the court, I went through a couple of changes in terms of my focus of study. Initially, I wanted to learn computer science because I knew the future was technology and computers. And I'm an Aquarius, so I'm automatically attracted to technology and innovation and what's coming next. So that was the thought. But once I got into class, the first coding class, I was like, oh no, this is not for me right now. I'm not willing to commit right now. So I changed to business finance, and I did pretty well in that for about a year and a half. And then one day, professor said, hey guys, you got to wear suits to class every day from now on. I think I had like one suit, maybe a pair of slacks or something. So I said, you know what? I'm going to change my major just for that. And I actually graduated with a psychology degree. So, it was some good time spent growing up in Atlanta, being able to see the influence of the movements in the city from the arts perspective, from the old Atlanta and to what is developing to today. So I think, being a part of that energy served me well in what I do now in terms of entertainment, whether that's athletics or creative stories and other things.
So when did you first fall in love with basketball, and what did the game mean to you beyond the sport?
Oh man, I would have to say my very first love in sports was football. I used to watch Barry Sanders and guys like that. He was my favorite player. So my first sport organized was football. But I remember when Pops put a basketball goal in the backyard one day, and our yard became the epicenter of the neighborhood in terms of playing ball, and it was a place where I could go to anytime. So I did practice a lot, and I was naturally gifted with my size. Like, I'm tall, and I was already athletic and had some speed and footwork on me. So yeah, I found out that basketball was what I grew into. And, my pops always told me that, hey, I think you're going to be a basketball player. You're getting tall. And yeah, I didn't grow this way. I grew this way. So eventually, by around middle school, going into high school was when I decided to focus on basketball. And then I just, it was a thing where we used to go to the playground and play outside on the concrete with grown men and being in the hood, so basketball meant more than just a sport. It was like a coming of age, so to speak. It was a communion with other people that, from the neighborhood. And then once I got into like high school and, real organized sports, all the lessons you learn from pain, rejection, loss, winning, teamwork, and courage, and it's really no cheating. When the coach says you're only cheating yourself when you're not running all the way, it really is a true statement. A lot of times when you're younger, your brain not all the way developed, so you're not processing everything right. So I think early discipline, work ethic, and learning how to work with a team and really just like learning to never give up were some of the main lessons I learned in my career through playing basketball.
So, what was the moment you realized basketball could be your career, and who believed in you before you fully believed in yourself?
Oh man. Okay, let me walk it back. So, I would say definitely in high school was when I realized because I have an older brother, so he played basketball also. So he's like 3 grades ahead of me, and so he went to Southwest DeKalb at first, and then he actually ended up going to Redan High School. Even though I stayed at Southwest, you could get away with that back in those days. But I would say one of my biggest confidence boosters would have to be my dad because he was really the one who was taking me, to the YMCA. He would tell me stuff like, you could be as good or better than Michael Jordan. And I didn't really believe it, but I was like, okay, if he believes it, maybe it's true. But just that vote of confidence, he was always there, like at pivotal points in my development and supported like extra stuff that I needed to get done along the way. So yeah, Pops definitely held it down in terms of exposure and building up my confidence. And like I said, by the time I got to high school, we had a pretty good team, a lot of big guys. Shout out to the crew, 97, 98, 99. And so everybody, was getting looks. I think we had like 7 seniors. Everybody got a scholarship to play in college. So it was around that time because I'm like 6'8", so I had the size to play professionally, and I grew up as a guard. So in those days, most taller people played like down low. So this is a little bit before your Kevin Durant and all of everybody shooting 3-pointers. So I could shoot, you know what I mean? That was one of my things.
Wow. So, and just thinking about basketball in general, so when you switched and you decided that basketball was your career going into high school, can you tell us what was who was that one player? And I know a lot of folk always say Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, or whatever have you, but who was that one player that you could truly focus on that you thought you could be like?
Great question. You couldn't watch players on TVs or on YouTube the way we can now. So most of what you saw were games or in person. Like I remember the Hawks always had games, and the Chicago Bulls always had games that I could see like consistently. I think the Bulls had like their own channel that was reaching everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, I'm not gonna lie, Michael Jordan was my guy. I love the Bulls, but I also love Scottie Pippen because I saw his versatility and like his height and his ability to handle the ball and play defense. So I kind of had some of those attributes. Maybe not quite like Scottie, but he was a guy that I looked up to as well, along with MJ. Outside of that, man, I'm really just a fan of good players. So, I might have my top favorites, but I really respect everybody's potential or established skill sets. Like I try to take something from everybody and see how it can fit and work with me. So yeah, and in my younger years, that's what I would say. Yeah.
So when you talk about Scottie Pippen's versatility, because Scottie could play the 2, the 3, and the 4. What did you think when you playing a guard or you being a guard? Did you think that you could play many other positions, and did you play other positions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like my 11th grade in high school, I was like more of like a 2 guard. At that time, I was probably like about 6'5", 6 maybe.
Really?
Yeah. So I was already handling the ball like a guard, I grew like 2-3 more inches, so I was shooting. And when I played ball in Detroit, like that's the mecca of hoop. You know what I'm saying? In terms of guard work, like their ball handling was just so much more advanced than the South. When I got there, I was amazed. Like every single guard had a immaculate ball handling. I was like, wow. You know, a lot of athletes in the South, a lot of running gun, but I really honed some of those skills up there. So yeah, like when I went to Morehouse first year, I was playing like small forward, power forward. I could play the wing or the post pretty much my whole career.
Wow. What does it feel like to walk out onto a professional court, and how did it feel the first time you did it internationally?
Man, it's like a dream fulfilled. You know, everybody wants to go to the NBA. Everybody can't go to the NBA. It's only a few select jobs every year. Most guys not trying to leave. So I was fortunate and blessed to be able to play overseas, get that whole experience in a great country like Japan, where you know Japanese people are very fanatic, and when they do things, they do it all the way. Basketball at that time, like in the mid 2000s, definitely was still kind of new and budding in Japan. So it wasn't like soccer, baseball. A lot of people still didn't know about it. But when I played in Tokyo, that probably was the biggest crowd and you know the most energy that I had experienced in the playoffs of my first year there. But my very first experience would have been with a club in Saitama, Japan, Saitama Broncos. I actually, I used to take the bullet train to Tokyo because I lived in another state, and I had actually an English job, teaching job, and they brought me on. So I just was zooming back and forth. Yeah, but that was in the JBL. So yeah, it was amazing, man. I mean, like I said, I think the Tokyo experience was much more of a what we would think of as a you know professional environment for a basketball game, like big arena, you know, all the bells and whistles. They had money, so it was a real professional league. My first team, you know, it was JBL, which was Japan Basketball League, but it was still not a huge organization. So it wasn't, but they were very faithful. I loved them. They took care of me. And just getting that treatment. And I never forget, I had to go to Tokyo to sign my first contract. And the GM, I told him, hey, I got to get back to Hamamatsu because I have a class at 7. So the bullet train ride maybe is an hour. You know, it's like 5 o'clock when I arrive. I got to be out by 6, basically. And so he's like, yeah, it's all good. You know, I just want to talk to you. He waits till like the last 10 minutes to hand me the contract. And so I have to sign it like this day, right? So I'm like zooming through the contract. I got a pen. I'm just scratching stuff out. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. No, yeah, okay, no. I gave it back to him. And he was like, oh, wow, oh, you smart. Like, why are you know, what's up with this? But at that time, I already had my own business. So I was already a bit established with making uniforms and basketball gear. So by the time I got my actual first professional contract, I was in Japan for about a year. And then during that time, I played for a club team. And that's how I got discovered.
So playing professionally in Japan is a remarkable chapter. What surprised you most about life and basketball culture overseas?
Well, it's a big distinction overseas because you're in another country, and usually internationally they only have a certain amount of import players that they'll take on a team, whether that's 2. Some of the newer leagues have 3 or 4, but in my day it was 2, so it's only me and one other American. My first go around with Saitama, so there automatically you're still kind of isolated culturally, linguistically. So I learned the culture first, you know, before I even played professionally. So I was able to communicate a little better than most of the other like import players. So I was always kind of like a bridge because I was learning the language. And so that was cool, man. Sorry, I don't know. Did I answer the question?
You did, but because what I was just also going to follow up on that is that when you have to adapt to the culture, because normally, when you're coming from the West and you're going in any other regions of the world, there's always going to be cultural differences. What were
Oh,
some of the
yeah.
adjustments? What are some of the adjustments that you had to make and you had to make quickly when you got to Japan?
Oh, man. Great question. Number one, you have to get over yourself. You don't have you don't have a sounding board, so because they don't even understand what you're saying anyway. So you can complain or say whatever you want, and they just gonna look at you and be like, "Huh, what you say?" So, yeah, I remember touching down in Tokyo the very first time, and I just thought to myself, "I'm like, man, everybody's walking really fast." And I was trying to get directions to the train. I didn't really hardly know any Japanese, and the guy was just talking to me really fast in Japanese. And I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be tough. But I did a homestay first, so I actually lived with a Japanese family, and it was actually the Japanese basketball player friend that I met in Atlanta. Shout out to Jun Okayama. I met him at Run and Shoot for all the OG ATL
Oh
hoopers.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I met him at Run and Shoot during the summertime when Woody was throwing like a summer league up there, and I was just trying to stay in the mix after coming out of Morehouse. So I met this Japanese guy, and he's the one who invited me to come to Japan, and I went and stayed with his family first. And yeah, it was grandma in the house, mom and dad, and my partner, but they all had jobs except for grandma. And so every day I was me and grandma, man, talking. So she wasn't trying to hear or talk no English. So I had to put it together like, okay, she keeps saying this, and this must mean it's time to eat, or is this time to do this? You know what I'm saying? So just picking up other modes of communication, body language, context. And then the more you observe, the more you realize, okay, they have a sense of humor too. They're humans, and there's a lot more similarities than what you would actually think. It's kind of cool not being able to understand Japanese and just kind of floating through. The more you know, it's like, okay, this is what they really said. Oh my God. So yeah, but just little things like personal space. In America, you would expect people to give you personal space. People, anybody get close to you, you kind of looking to see what's going on. In Tokyo, people packing those trains, and it can get kind of hasty sometimes. Talking to people on the street is very aggressive to them. So just even saying, "Hey, how you doing?" and all of that, they don't really look too kindly upon that. If they don't know you, they're kind of like straightforward. Seeing how families work together, seeing how they basically pass stuff down in their family, was great to see how like a real community works, and just how the communal mindset permeates pretty much the society. And then just, I think Japan is like a place where it's a balance of Eastern and Western thought, right? So for me, I always was intrigued and loved Japanese culture growing up, ninja movies, martial arts. That was the coolest stuff to me as a kid. I want to play the fighting game. So I was on a search really to kind of dive into the culture and learn as much as I could and see if I could find a ninja or two out there.
How did living and competing in Japan reshape your identity and your understanding of who you are as a Black man?
Yeah. So I would say that I don't classify myself as a black man. Although I will communicate with people colloquially, just for understanding's sake, because I mean we all understand that saying a black man means like a Negroid phenotype with darker melanated skin. But to answer your question, and that's important because what I realized in Japan that they don't look at all black people the same. So they just identified me as American, and like I met a lot of other diasporan friends from Africa, like even Jamaica. But what I noticed was that the Japanese held the Americans in the highest regard. They didn't necessarily treat certain like Africans the same. And at first I couldn't really understand because I'm like, hey, these are we all the same people. But it was more nationality based. So but it was always intrigue. It was always questions. They were always fascinated. You know, I had longer like locks, hair, and I'm 6'8". So, you know, they're gonna be looking at me like, hey, who is this? So it was always stares of curiosity, no matter where I went. Tokyo wasn't too bad, but anywhere else, I mean, you get like amazing stares on the train, walking down the street. Like the whole street will stop and like look at you. So you had to get over those things. Yeah.
So when did you know your playing days were coming to an end, and how did you handle that transition emotionally?
Yeah, I had a couple of tough points. You know, I had an injury in Tokyo, which was a torn meniscus in my knee.
Ooh.
And yeah, by the way, my coach during that time was Joe Jellybean Bryant. So that's Kobe's pops. So we had a good relationship. And when I got injured, basically the team wanted to cut me, but I was cool with the coach. And so he basically looked out for me and was like, nah, I'm not going to let him cut you. I like you. And you know what I'm saying? You just got to get better. So, yeah, it was, that was like the beginning of the end, I would say, because I chose not to have a surgery, and I tried another technique called prolotherapy. It's where they actually inject like your knee with sugar and another element which tricks your body into thinking it's a new injury, and it sends more like red blood cells there or white blood cells to help heal it quicker. I had a doctor from Japan talking to a doctor in the US and trying to do this stuff. But anywho, I did end up going to another team after Tokyo down in South Japan, Kagoshima. And that was a very unique opportunity because it was a new team. So they had a team, but they were like a semi-pro, and this was their first year going up, right? So they took me in, and I was able to help them really shape the identity of the team. That's when I really branched out into more business. So I had the uniform company, but I was able to provide uniforms for this team. So now, you know, I had like a professional client. I was a consultant. I was giving them connections that I already had from other teams and business people and bringing them business plans, you know. Also, I served as an agent for them. So I also ended up helping bring other players to the team. So those last like 2 years was really pivotal in like my development and being able to do more business. And by that time, I knew that, okay, I'm only going to be able to play comfortably at this pace because I didn't have to practice every single day. So I was able to like kind of stretch it out. But yeah, man, I already kind of planned and was already doing business before I finished. So by the time I finished, it wasn't so hard mentally. The hardest part mentally was when they didn't want to pay me no more. And you know, I had that after all I've done for you moment, you know, but it's a cold game and you got to understand at all times what your true value is. And, you know, sometimes you get a little comfortable, but when you're in somebody else's yard, you got to always understand that, you know, a rug can be pulled. So I was doing a lot down there in Kagoshima. Yeah, yeah, man. It was fun though. Like I had my face on the city. That was my city for sure. I mean, I was able to bring a lot of people out there, and you know, that's where my daughter's from.
So, what did basketball teach you about discipline, failure, and reinvention that you carry with you into everything you do now?
Yeah, um, basketball was the canvas for me to express my innate abilities, my work, and really the confidence I had in myself. So I always believed in myself. I always felt I was special and that I could pretty much do anything if I put my mind to it. So that was just me in general from being born. So I think everybody's just not born with certain convictions. Certain people have different aspects and just, you know, talents and dispositions. For me, I always believe I can like make the shot. So I actually was a clutch player. Like they called my name at the end of the game. I'm taking that last shot, right? So and then being able to take those shots, make them and not make them is a lesson all in itself. Learning how to lose graciously, you know, and being able to separate your emotions from the bigger picture of what the whole thing means as an exchange, a competition, and you know what I'm saying, an exchange of skill and art. And it's really for the people. So I think it's a balance of detachment and also being like insane about what you do. You kind of have to be able to switch between those modes to get the hard work done, but also not to get attached to it to a point of detriment to your overall life and your happiness, you know?
So, the young men that are watching you right now today, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you can have for them if they get this same opportunity you got to go and play in Japan?
Oh man, number one, all you got to stay prepared. I had an opportunity to try out for the NBA at one point, and I was looking for an opportunity, but I wasn't in shape at that time. And the guy was like, "Yeah, next week, meet me at this gym." And I was like, "Oh no!" So I tried to run and get in shape in a week's time. So always staying prepared for the opportunity. Um, so that just goes into discipline, work ethic, and also you know, not giving up. You know what I'm saying? You have to turn over every rock, every leaf. A lot of it is not your ability. It's just you have to find the right situation for you. So everybody is not cannot play in the NBA. Everybody cannot play in Japan. And you have to look at it as still a growing tool. You know what I'm saying? Basketball is like a life sport. Like you got to play for a long time to get really good. So you have to use it to further yourself. And most people are not going to retire forever playing basketball. Even the NBA guys, they still get jobs at the networks, coaching. Why are they still working if they got it made? So it's not the all end all of everything. And just like be smarter on the business side. So understand what it means to own your likeness, to do good contracts, build a team of people that support you, and nothing will replace the belief in you more than the belief you have in yourself. And it's not just believing, it's proving. So it's a proving ground like anything else. Like no one's going to give you money until you can prove you're worth it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be that diamond. You have to go through hardship, hurt, and be able to push through it in a healthy pace. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So let's talk a little bit about your work as the educator and workforce development leader. After professional basketball, you made a pivot into education and workforce development. What was the calling that drew you there?
Yes. So 1 year after I came back to the United States, to back it up just a little bit to how I kind of got into education, I was I already taught English in Japan, right? And so I already was learning the basics of just teaching in general, ages like infants to grown people, corporate jobs. So, and teaching has always just been a natural thing for me, whether that's like coaching, helping somebody do something, because a lot of it is observation and being able to repeat things. So yeah, when I got back to the States, we got a $500,000 investment to start UPG, Universal Phoenix Group. That included a semi-pro basketball league, the same uniform company, and also our gaming first project in the dance space. So all those things contributed to my teaching because I had all these different subjects and things I was managing. Eventually, we formed a company called STEAM Teams Academics, which created curricula and STEM and STEAM programming in like charter schools here in the Metro Atlanta area. And I was drawing from all of these professionals and this network of people to create this curricula. So the business stuff kind of came first. I had inroads to teaching, but then it came full circle when I was able to activate the network for, our own educational movement. And so it started with that. Right here in DeKalb County, Stone Mountain is where we got started. We were teaching, elementary, middle schoolers, charter school students, everything from digital media, film photography, to 2D, 3D animation, using like industry standard technology, Blender, also robotics, green solar tech. So yeah, that was a eye opener to not just come from organic space, but to be able to understand the standards, what the public school system requires in terms of metrics and data, and being able to put that all together. So that was kind of how I got into actually serving the community and, my first look at the schools.
So let me just ask you this, because it seems like you already had the business savvy. And so it sounds like you were like pre-planning for what was to be, for what your future was going to be, and you were going to make it even brighter. So when you've directly impacted over 11,000 students and young professionals, how do you even begin to process the scale of that impact?
It's one of those things you don't think about. It's just you just do it and you look up and you're like, wow, we covered a lot of ground. Those numbers are stacking up. So it's the whole thing of success. It's not a destination, it's a way of life. So when you're immersed in helping people and providing opportunities for people, you really don't have time to count as much when you're actually enjoying the work and you're making an impact. So I think it just is a testament to the longevity of the movement and our ability, not just my ability, but our ability to continue to reinvent ourselves, to continue to stay relevant. Because, you're only as good as your last show. So, refinement and continuously learning are just like the attributes, I think, to sustain, to be able to keep, impacting year after year, different sets of young people.
So tell us about the early days. What did your first program look like, and what challenges nearly stopped you before you started?
Oh, great question. I remember going into Data Academy, which was one of our first clients, and shout out to Dr. Wills. We had an opportunity to do a pilot, and the very first pilot was like 2D animation and some solar technology class. They liked it, you know, and they came back and it's like, hey, what else do you have? So I came in there with a menu of a bunch of things. And they was like, okay, we want that. And I was like, oh, now I have to go actually put this together. So I think kind of, you know, presenting things that weren't all the way flushed out and then having to actually deliver, but believing and knowing that I could put it together is part of the thing as well. Because a lot of times you're not going to do all of everything until you have a confirmation that you need to. But I think the way we scaled up like kind of quickly because we had success in the beginning, and then it was a scale up, which meant that there was a lot of administrative and communication and recruiting work that had to be done, and a lot of just quality control, because now we were hiring industry professionals to come into schools. And so those are people who maybe they have a part-time job or they need some money here or there, or, you know what I'm saying? They really want to work in their industry. They don't really want to be a teacher in the school per se, but it's an opportunity for them. And so it could be a high turnover. You know, somebody could say, oh, you know what? I got a job over here. This is really what I wanted to do. So, you know, that was one of the big things. So I had to stay on top of that part. Like I had to have people on deck. Like if they quit today, it has to be somebody there tomorrow, or I have to go in there. You know what I'm saying? So turnover was a thing that we dealt with. And then we grew so fast that it was a lot to keep up with. That kind of leveled itself out, because I think when we grew really fast, our ability, the quality may have come down a bit, you know. So finding that sustainability and balance in operations when scaling.
Well, you've partnered with over 100 colleges and universities. What does it take to build institutional trust as a non-traditional educator?
Great question. It takes evidence. It takes portfolio, right? So people believe what they see more than what they hear or read. So having established a line of evidence of projects that you've worked on, impact that you've made, the more of that you accrue, the easier it is for them to say, oh yeah, you're certified stamp. You know, it's just a thing of who you know and being able to showcase that. So I think, you know, our very first internship was one person. He's a high school kid. I mean, he was my best friend's younger brother, so he was like my younger brother, but he was already a 3D journalist in Blender. He's the one who introduced me to 3D animation. And so we just built it, you know, and we just, year after year, we said, hey, this is working. Let's add more people. Let's make 3D animation. Let's figure out how to make our own game. Okay, how can we make websites? So literally, I was learning these workflows by just doing them, downloading, uploading from the younger people in the program, which led me down other lanes of study. So yeah.
So you facilitated 1,200 internships. What's the most powerful internship to career transformation story you've ever witnessed?
Oh, okay. I was so happy to share this one. So I had quite a few, but the very first boy, the high school student, he sent me a video from Pixar showing off the 3D animation pipeline. That was like his dream job, to work at Pixar. So, you know, fast forwarded, today he works at Pixar as a layout artist, and he's been there for, I don't know, 5-6 years now. So shout out to Johnny Gibbs. That's my boy. He's doing great work, has his fingerprints all over all of the latest productions from Pixar over the last 5 years. I think they just did Toy Story 5. So, you know, the layout artist is the person between the directors and like the storyboard artists. So they're semi-directors, but yeah, great talent, who literally was our first intern, and now he's exactly where he wanted to be. I have others working like Fox Sports, so all sports networks, Sony, Netflix. So we have quite a few people that's gone on to like high positions and really big companies, and also many others that are working in smaller studios. You know, everybody can't make it, but it's good to see and stay in touch with those people.
So let me ask you this, because I find it amazing that you were able to craft these wonderful things that you're doing, and how you were able to engage so many young people. Can you tell us what was your inspiration and motivation when you first started this, and what did you intend to create with these young people?
Another great question. Man, you shooting 100. Okay, so yeah, the inspiration was always from childhood to now to do something great in the world. I've always been humanitarian minded. My heart has always gone out to the whole of humanity. So I always wanted to build something that was great, and I wanted to be wealthy, not just with money, but family, all aspects of health and wealth. So that's my inspiration. Like knowing, like I said, I felt that I could do something special in the world, and actually manifesting like those long-term goals and dreams validates what's possible to me, and it makes me dream more. So I want others to understand the power they have within themselves, because it's the only way we can really change the world for better. It's not me telling you, it's me doing it for me. So self-governance, being able to have accountability, all those things matter. So those are the kinds of things I look to transfer through the art. And the art is something, whether it's a game, a franchise, animation, a book, music, all of it can transcend through time. You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Jackson is timeless. He's immortal because his music will live forever. So having positive net influence before it's time to check out is the goal. And you know what I'm saying? Just transferring that wealth of information and knowledge to everyone who needs it is important for the legacy and further, passing that baton, man.
So you've engaged over 150 schools. What do you believe is the single most important thing schools are getting wrong about preparing students for the real world?
They have outdated models based on where technology is going today, based on the reality of where society and business is. I think the traditional school structure is really splintering, and with this wealth of knowledge, information in this digital age, some things are becoming obsolete, and the school systems cannot adjust to that stuff quick enough. Also, in general, I don't think the school systems, are all the way beneficial for me or a lot of us, just based on, the victor tells the story. So I think people need to look at it from the aspect of, are we just going to go through the program just to get the credential, or am I really trying to learn the truth and do some independent research? So it's failing because of that, because a lot of it is not based on your best interests. You know what I mean? So it's a reason why it's not working for us anyway.
Let me ask you this. This is a follow-up question, because that's very interesting in how you took the route that you took, because as we think about school curriculums, and I know I'm much older than you, so I can tell you just factually from not just the time that I was in grade school, but as I've come over time with children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews, as you guys have come up into this era here, I think it's always seemed and it's always been a thing that the curriculums have always been outdated and not up to date. So in that, as they do, me being a finance man by trade. So it's like now, they came up with this new thing now that they were talking about out in the world about creative financing. So did you decide to come up with creative curriculum as you're dealing with your kids?
Absolutely, because I wanted to homeschool my daughter, but she got into a good school, and the commitments and all the things that was going on, that's a real commitment you have to make. So it's not easy. But I just kept seeing all these outstanding homeschool children. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, all these kids just seem to be smarter just in general. Like they have all these different experiences. They might lose out on some social things. So it's a balance. I'm a product of the public school system. I think I turned out okay, but a lot of people didn't, right? So for me, it's like I want to be the stronger link and pay it forward. So the things that I look back on in my life and be like, I wish I would have known that, or if I had known that, I would have done things this way, or if I had someone to tell me this, I would did this. I try to fill those points for my children. You know what I'm saying? So I try to tell them the truth. Okay, you have to go to school and learn these things, but let me tell you this story. Let me ground you in what I believe first. We want to have the same God and all these things. I don't want you to go and spend more time with someone else, and your whole mind is now based on what they told you. So that's kind of what happens, with most parents with the tech now. I mean, as soon as they get a phone in their hand, I mean, they tapping out. They in the multiverse, you know what I mean? So I think connecting with stuff like comic books and some of the good old things we enjoyed growing up, it's kind of this nostalgic style of education where then we have fun with technology, but I make sure that like you understand how to do things, why things, and how to express like your creativity and really develop critical thinking. So those are the main things that I want, how to think critically, learn how to research, the things you need to come up with more things, to build structure, to build community. You have to be able to reason, you have to be able to learn, you have to be able to communicate. You have to have those soft skills along with whatever your trade or hard skill is. So I think that's a lot of what's missing with the advancement of technology. We're losing our natural technology and how we deal with each other. So, they said the Jetsons was coming and we here, right?
So with you, graduating with a psychology degree, and you are a professional basketball player. Now you've turned educator along with entrepreneur. Can you tell us, how is it that you're able to cross-sectionally bring together psychology with your philosophy for education and sports into educating and being so successful at that?
Well, a long time ago, people always told me stop doing all these different things and focus on one thing, until I had to come back and tell them, oh yeah, I am doing one thing. It's the same thing over and over. So I think being dynamic is okay, and you can express all those facets of yourself. For me, I did it in a way where I was designing and architecting business operations in those different aspects of myself. So if it was street dance, I'm like, okay, I met with street dancers. Shout out to Daniel Price and Lil Buck and Boogaloo Shrimp. And we, you know what I'm saying, develop stuff, education, you know, I'm around those people. So all these different networks of people, it's just fun for me to cultivate and to build things and to build pieces of cultural art that have meaning. Was really the motivation. Like building the art actually is really what it is. So it doesn't matter if it's for this or that. It's about the process and then being able to make it beautiful and to make it to where people love it and want to deal with it. And it's a great conversation. So I think it's just, man, being yourself. Everybody can't do everything, but be good at what you do. And when you know what you do, you're able to like unpack all the other stuff. You're able to laugh at yourself, being down to earth, being able to connect with different types of people, traveling around the world, different cultures, people that's not like you. Like I said, getting over yourself, over your ego. The ego is a great guard, not a great king. So you need an ego to keep your defense up, but you have to know when the ego is not in control. And so I just keep it humble, but also I keep an edge. So I'll keep it quiet.
No, you know,
until it's time.
I just think that that's really fascinating, and I'm really proud of you for the process in which you were able to create and the way you've created, because it definitely, I'm sure that it definitely has to, you know, make these kids feel comfortable, because when you come from that creative space, especially with today's children, that's where most of them are. So when you can get with that creative side with the technical part of that aspect, that means that if you got the right kind of philosophy like you do, then you have no choice but to be successful, because it's causing them to be multidimensional.
And it's like you introduce them that, hey, you can actually make money having fun. Like,
Yes.
what do you actually like to do? Who are you? Oh, okay. Well, you know, you can. There's a job for that, right? Well, guess what? You need to learn these things. So why don't you try this first?
Right.
They're gone. They're gone. Now they just need a little bit of nurture. You know what I mean? And so that's all it is, man. Just opportunity, exposure, and a little bit of nurture. Systems that can nurture them where they're at, and connecting with them, like you see the art, the creative aspects of their content they're consuming. And once they like the characters or the content, oh, they'll do the rest for you. So yeah, including them in storytelling, you know, getting them to start their own thing, and creating ways for them to even see that they can monetize stuff and make a future for themselves. So that's what it's about.
So let's talk a little bit about you being the CEO of Steam Dreams Digital Dance Company. Tell us about Steam Dreams Digital Dance. What is it? What does it do? And why did you build it?
Okay, so it's Steam Dream Studios. Digital Dance Culture is another company. So that's a street dance entertainment technology company. But Steam Dream Studios is the next chapter in the education side. But this time, instead of it being mainly service-based, we decided to make it product-based. We still have services, and those products are video games and comic books. Those services are still, you know, supplying curricula, but more so from a digital aspect. So instead of us sending bodies into schools every day, hey, your teachers can use our curricula and you can use our products. So that's kind of the transition to the thought was automating and making operations and overhead much less stressful, and also making the scaling potential higher. So that's pretty much what Steam Dreams is. It's all about these 6 characters. They all are diverse. They have a different power in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, math. Also, we added an L for leadership. So it's STEAM L. And they're basically in high school. And, you know, they have to make, you know, a STEAM project, and they're in a competition against other schools. So there's an antagonist. It's a fun story. It has a little edge to it. So the comic books themselves, we've produced 11 and counting. We've produced 3 video games. One is a RPG PC game. The demo is available on Steam. So you can look that up, Steam Dreams on Steam. We have a web game, which means that you can go to the website and play that game straight on the website. That's called Wurzel. That's a word making game. So it's a literacy based game where you have to drag letters to make like words on a timer. It's a competitive game. People love that game. We just won 2 awards for that game at our last event at DreamHack for best design and most fun. Honorable mention, but there was a lot of games out there, so we were happy about that. Shout out to Andrew Greenberg at the Georgia Game Developers Association. Yeah, and we also have a VR game. And so we literally coming up now, like we'll be going to DeKalb County Tech Symposium this month on the 17th. We have a presentation there. And then at the end of the month, we have the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, where we'll be showcasing all of our games for Steam Dreams, as well as a new game called Soul Dance. So that's on the dance side. And then now we're also launching a Kickstarter campaign. So there's a lot going on with Steam Dreams. It has a lot of activity, traction, and it's been like that for about a year now. So I'm really excited about that because school is coming back around in about a month. So we're prepping to have our packaging together and all of our latest releases for the products.
Well, so the name of your company itself is very evocative. So Steam Dreams Digital Dance, break that down for us. What does each word in that name represent?
Okay, so Steam, besides being in the sauna, it's an acronym for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. It's basically an addition from STEM. Well, so the A came in later, and A is important to arts, which you know I'm all about. That kind of synthesizes all of the other things into something. So STEAM is a tag that you know is very popular in the United States. The government and all of industry, they want to train people in these industries, these areas. So this is part of training the populace for these types of jobs, because this is what the future is, right? Science, technology, engineering, arts, math. Anything could be related to that, honestly. So that's what STEAM means. And dreams. We can make STEAM what we want it to be. So it doesn't have to be these jobs over here. We can create our own industry, our own lanes, our own platforms in these spaces. So dreams to me is achieving whatever you want in those STEAM fields. I think it just sounds good. I think we have a great brand, and very happy that we was able to push it out before anyone else thought of it. You know what I mean? And got it out there. So yeah, Steam Dreams is tough, man. Like I said, Digital Dance Culture is another company that is a partnership with my guys, Daniel Price and Charles Lil Buck Riley. We've been running that for years as a trust of American dance. So as you know, hip hop dance is one of those pillars, and I love like street dance and just dance in general. So we're working on a major project over there. It's called Soul Dance, and it's a historical digital dance deck building game. So it goes from the 1960s all the way to the 2020s. Each decade is like a different deck of cards you can unlock. So it gives everyone a chance to go back to their heyday of music, you know what I'm saying, what they like growing up. Unless you like music like in the 50s and 40s, you might not find too much there, but we're starting at the 60s.
You ain't gonna go too far back.
Yeah, we can't go too much further back than that. But no, soul dance is hot because this is a cultural masterpiece. I think it's a national treasure because it's historical. These are real legendary people involved in this. Some of the people that are older, some of them have passed on. So a lot of these people, you know, we still don't have all of the stories. Like I said, we have Michael Chambers, Boogaloo Shrimp as our lead guy. We've been working with him like 3-4 years now. So shout out to Boog out there in Cali, still collecting awards for his contributions to dance. So we're super excited, man, because it's going to be nostalgic. We want to give you that old feeling of, you know, The Last Dragon or just one of those cult classics that people love.
You know, and I want to just give you your accolades because I'm really proud of the work that you're doing. But I think this right here is going to put all the food on the table because you definitely have to give us this really great answer here. How does a former professional basketball player end up leading a company at the intersection of STEAM education, digital media, and dance?
Okay, they're all related. You go to school for one day, you're gonna see education, you're gonna see some dance. It's all in a day's work. Yeah, like I said, I think it's just a matter of not swimming against the current, right? So culture involves all these things. In the culture, we're using technology to capture the art. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like making art and learning technology at the same time because they go together. So you start off doing traditional art with a pencil, painting, and then eventually you start getting to digital art. Then you start understanding graphic design. Then you realize, hey, I need to learn how to do some 3D modeling to stay up to par to get a job nowadays because now they got AI out here. So it's an ever quest. You know what I mean? And you just got to figure out how to fit them together. You know, with dance, that's a universal language like music. So any and everyone can appreciate dance, right? Doesn't matter who you are, everybody's dancing in the world. So it's not hard to get people interested. Like marketing uses dance a lot, probably more than anything else. So dance is marketing. And then it just so happens that we have a large trust of hot dance going on in the world. So for us, it's like taking back the equity of the culture for ourselves. It's kind of like what hip hop tried to do until they, you know,
They just didn't do such a good job.
got taken over and changed up.
So let's go to your game development, esports, and your publishing. You've published over 30 comics and games. That's extraordinary. So, what was your very first published work, and what did it feel like to hold it in your hands?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question because I didn't have a chance to talk about Swords and Scales. Swords and Scales, Tales of the Immortals was my very first project. And it was a partnership with my older brother, Emmanuel Kimathi. And actually, you can see these little posters back here, some of our characters on the wall. But Swords and Scales is about these 7 immortal characters. They all have a special attribute like courage, justice, strength, love, you know, all these things. And they're like the Avengers. So, you know, we were very, what can I say, ambitious. Like before Black Panther came out and everyone saw Black Panther coming, we had Swords and Scales and we sincerely thought we'd be the first ones to bring out something like what Black Panther did. And then we saw Black Panther coming, and we said, oh, they unleashed the Panther. Okay. So yeah, that was the very first book that we published. It's called Swords and Scales, Tales of the Immortals, Origins. It's a hardcover book, a lore origins book for each character. Very beautiful for any coffee table. But when we got that book in hand, it felt like the ultimate achievement. First of all, it was a family affair. So it was myself and my brother that produced it. I think our father maybe had just passed, like right before we actually published it. So that was another kind of thing going on at the time. And it was just a beautifully done piece of work that I'm still proud of to this day. And, you know, it's still for sale.
So how did you get into game development, and what story or message were you trying to tell through your first game?
Yeah, our very first game project, we published an AR, which is augmented reality motion capture. That's where they put the little things on and it captured all the motion. It was a street dance mobile app called Memphis Jukin AR Dancer. So that was outsourced to a company in the UK. So we didn't build it in-house. So that was the first inspiration to see it done. But then also that was a lot of money. So we said, okay, let's figure this out for ourselves. I think shortly thereafter, the internship program started. And so I started incrementally building. I had a couple of mentors in the field that were hipping me to a lot of things I didn't know. Shout out CJ Peters, Console Kings. So yeah, it was about learning. And sometimes you got to fall forward. You don't know what you don't know, but you know, you can't repeat the same mistakes if you want to grow. So that's kind of the mentality. It's just like basketball, you know, you have to learn fundamentals. Then you have, once you master the fundamentals, you know, you can start experimenting with creativity. Once you become like a real grandmaster, then you're no longer thinking about technique, and it's just happening, and you're just doing it based on muscle memory and having done it so many times. So I take the same approach to learning anything. So for games, like it was, like I said, bringing in game developers, at first not knowing how to even judge a game developer. You know, how do I even know if you're good or not? What are you talking about? So it's like I have to go learn the jargon for every workflow, for every technology, for every job, you know, that's involved in the process. So yeah, it just got better and better over time. I would say by the time, probably took about 4 years to really get it to where it's like, okay, it's running smoothly. We understand the importance of pre-production, because the very first project, we just jumped in head first and just tried to start making stuff. Then once we ran into problems down the line, we said, oh, we should have did this. Oh, we were supposed to have this documentation, this. So we had to go back and recreate that stuff. But then for every new project, we did that first. So like we literally just kept getting better and better with our processes over time. But it started out as a mess, I'll tell you the truth.
Wow, you know something? As I'm just thinking about that, I'm wondering, are you a gamer?
I used to be, when I was younger, like, you know, man, I tell you, I really stopped playing games like in high school. I know like a lot of players, they still play like sports games and stuff like that. But I really started getting busy. And by the time I got to college, I really wasn't playing games anymore. Like I'm a gamer. I guess I picked up games more as an adult, like just on my phone, little pass the time games. But I still never really gamed like that in my adult life. And I just don't have time to be a gamer. That takes time, man. you know. But I love games. Like, I feel like I can beat you in a fighting game if I just know the moves. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
So, comics and games are both powerful storytelling mediums. What stories feel most urgent for you to tell right now?
Know thyself, and be yourself. Yeah, that's it. Know who you are, and then be who you are. And if you actually do those things in real life, you'll be happy, and you will exude your greatness.
That, you say that with such confidence, and I believe in all positive affirmations. In saying that, how do you get people, especially those that follow you, that you are in direct contact with, how do you get them to believe in the positive word and make it happen?
Well, you gotta lead by example. You gotta believe yourself. Like I said, if you don't believe it, nobody else will. So I am the confidence guy because, well, I'm gonna do what I say. Like, you know what I'm saying? So the proof is in the pudding when it comes to what I can do. So I just been stacking, man, stacking content, credentials over time. It gets easier as you refine yourself. But yeah, you have to be able to follow the plan and not deviate. So it's a matter of focused energy over time also. Like, do you have what it takes to keep going when it gets hard, or when somebody says no, or when it looks impossible? Are you going to quit and lose all that energy that you stored up? Because it's all energy. So if you quit, it's like you got to go get some more energy to get the momentum back up. So understanding that, like, allowed me to never quit. And that was all it was. Because it's like, everything is hard in life. You're not going to be great at anything without some hardship. But you have to focus, the determination, the willpower to overcome yourself in life. Keep the hope, keep the dream alive. You know what I'm saying? Because it's faith, but it's works. Like, once you do the works, you can't help but get better. If I keep shooting jump shots, I'm going to become a better jump shooter. It's just it's science. Like, you have to understand that. Like, it's literally what you put out is what you get back. Like, that's just the law. So if you actually do work, you know that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. The value of intention, action, and then mindfulness all together at once is when you are in your highest state,
So let's talk a little bit about your authorship and advocacy. Beyond your games and comics, you are an author. Tell us about your writing, what compelled you to put your story and ideas on the page.
Woo! All right. Well, before you lead, sometimes you got to follow. So, like I said, our first published work was my older brother and I's partnership with Swords and Scales. So he was primarily the creator of that IP in terms of the creative side. And I saw what he had, like just some sketches, and I said, oh my goodness, we got to produce this. I took it and ran and assembled the team, and we just started tinkering away. So we've always read a lot, like as children. We read books. We were excellent students. Our parents did a great job of exposing us to a lot of different things. So I've always been on a high academic track, honestly. And I always could write some pretty decent stories. But then, all the influences of 90s, thousands, pop TV culture, Star Wars, all these shows that were super influential on me, and the type of storytelling, world building, and how influential those things were, all contribute to why I like to create through authorship. What am I writing right now? I'm primarily focused on two series. One is for STEAM Dreams, the education stuff. So we're up to book number 12, and I have number 13 that I'm also kind of writing out. And then there's another series. Thank you. There's another series called Crypto Chronicles, which is a really, really fun project. Can't really talk too much about it. There's a big movement that's happening, but that is about these, what can I say? These cannabis-based characters. It's a far out story. It's not for the kids, so I'm not promoting it for the kids. But yeah, man, being able to coexist like on those two planes is really crazy, and really is the epitome of everything you've been asking me. Like, how am I doing these different things and one at the same time? So that was like one of the biggest challenges, figuring out how to create on such polarizing spaces at the same time. But yeah, I love it because world creating, it gives me a chance to demonstrate my knowledge, my studies, and my creativity. Because I'm always thinking when I'm creating something, like I'm making a story for the layman, I'm making a story for the wise men, and there's like a couple of layers that if you really examine it, you'll start drawing out. So that's kind of how I build things. Like every logo, image, or story, I want to embed layers of information and knowledge for people who understand like symbols and history and different systems.
So what is the central message or theme that runs through everything you've written?
Great question. The central theme is self-growth and good wins in the end. And there are also it's always themes of self-empowerment some way or another. Also, you know, I know the name of the show is America in Black and White, but I try to show the shades of gray that exist as well. You know what I mean? Because everything is not as simple as black and white. So I try to show the positive and negative on both sides, the hero and the antagonist. I don't want it to be like this antagonist is all bad. So I try to show a balance of how things can fluctuate and how it's up to you to manifest your higher self, you know, because you could be good or bad.
Okay. Well, so let me just say, let's we discussed Black history. We do Black History 365. And when I asked you who was the most influential person in your life and career, you said it was your father. Can you tell us, why is your father the most impactful figure in your life and your connection to Black history? Tell us about him, who he is, and what has he meant to you in your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So my father, first of all, I'm a junior, so we have the same name, right? So there was always this thing in the house when my mother would say Jerone, but we both knew which Jerome she was talking about when she would call the name. So, you know what I'm saying? That was always this like funny, unspoken kind of dichotomy, just growing up with the same name. But my dad was he was talented, he was smart. Like he went to the military back in the Vietnam War time. You know, back in those days, a lot of us were getting drafted and put on front lines. So him and his boys joined the Air Force. They was like, okay, we're gonna join the Air Force before we get drafted. And so you know, he had that experience. When he came out, he was one of the first like Black executives to work at IBM. And so he went
Okay.
from like military to corporate which was, he was definitely not a lot of people like him doing that. So we basically, the family followed him to wherever like his job was. So that's why we moved to like Milwaukee. We were in Brown Deer, which is a little suburb in Milwaukee, and then down to Georgia. And yeah, he's the oldest of like 6 siblings. So he always was the kind of patriarch of the family on his side. And then just seeing how he was always able to make a way, and you know what I'm saying, he cared about his children. He had you know, he was kind of guy, a little militant. So he was like, you know, down for the Panthers and Black Power and stuff like that. So I think those things kind of trickled down to his children in terms of awareness of politics, and knowing that something's not right, you know. And so, yeah, I think we took it a step further though, just, you know, with the research, and as more new information comes out, it's like you have to be able to reformat stuff. But yeah, he just gave us a good foundation. He made us work hard. We had like responsibilities. We couldn't just lay around on Saturday. Like you had to clean, you know, you got to go clean. You got some chores.
Yes.
I think just the masculine male father figure is needed in every child's life. So even though my parents didn't live together like forever or happily ever after, he was there in a lot of the formative years, and even when he wasn't in the house, he was still there, like helping and taking care of his kids. So, you know, and then, you know, I see a lot of people my age or people who didn't have like a father, and it's like you could see the differences in their outlook, sometimes in their discipline, not always, you know what I'm saying, but you know, the man or the male is going to be logical, the female, the feminine is going to be emotional. You need both of them, but when it comes to leadership, you have to have logic. And I mean, they've done studies of, you know what I'm saying, men being in the house and how the children are much less likely to commit crimes and stuff like that. So just knowing like this is somebody there to like, no, you're not doing that, or hey, calm down, because if you do that, this is going to happen next. You know, so being able to have those kind of buffers on both sides was great. So shout out to mom as well, because she's gonna hear this and be like, well, hold on now.
So, what specific lesson, value, or example from your father has shown up most powerfully in your professional and personal life?
Just you know, believe in self. You know, when your own people believe in you wholeheartedly, and you know it's coming from sincerity, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not just somebody saying it. It's like, no, I really, really believe in you. It hits different. So that's the baseline of everything. And then also just spirituality, like, you know, being grounded with faith and like giving thanks and gratitude to God and your creator. So yeah, like seeing, you know, pops go to church, you know what I'm saying, taking me to church. Didn't want to go. But just seeing like, okay, you're trying to better yourself. Pops wrote books also. So he actually wrote books before either me or my brother. So he already had a couple books. So he was also a writer and a thinker. And he was into history, and he was in the Hebrew Israelite faith towards the end. So I just saw like an evolution, and we had a great relationship over the years.
So let's talk. Let's talk about your closing reflections. Your vision and your purpose. Um, if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self three things, what would they be?
Um, don't go to that party. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, I would tell myself, you know, I could be my own worst critic, right? So I would tell myself, like, hey, man, like everybody's not all like, you all up in your head with everything. So sometimes you got to just stop thinking about stuff and just being about stuff. So I was just such a thinker, always thinking, introverted, shy. So I feel like some things I could have missed based on not being able to like articulate or communicate what I wanted. So just kind of, what I'm saying, being a little more sociable and taking a little more risks would be one thing. Another thing would be just don't give up. It's coming. You know what I'm saying? Like you're good enough. And another thing would be don't overlook the people that you come across, like every person. You know what I'm saying? When you're young, sometimes you get in these cliques and you start thinking like, I'm with these cool guys and I'm not dealing with you nerds and lames. Then time fast forward, you look up the nerds and lames are the lawyers, the doctors, and all the affluent people in society. And so really valuing relationships and like, don't just think about what you can get, think about what you can give, because that is really how you get put on these relationships. Somebody who knows you, who really believes in you, and they're like, oh, no, this, you got this. So, I don't like doing cold calls and sales. I like warm leads. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, what does America in black and white mean to you? And what do you want this conversation to leave in the hearts and minds of everyone watching tonight?
Yes, America in black and white. First of all, um, I want to thank you again, brother Charles King, True King, and for all the hard work you've been putting into this platform and for your purpose of bringing together people like myself and so many others. To me, what it means is it's a space for us to share the stories, the purpose, the vision, that will hopefully lead to action and calls to action for the things that we discover and agree that we need to build for ourselves and our posterity. It's also a trip down history lane. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So obviously black and white, most people will just imagine that as white folks and black folks, or the contracts in black and white. So it has a certain edge to it in terms of polarizing groups and the experiences that are separate and shared. And so, yeah, I mean, the history of the country is built on blood and warfare. So, I mean, there's no way to overlook or not talk about what has happened and how and why things are the way they are now. So for me, it's a solution platform, but solution comes through discovery of what the reality is and how you can rebuild and reclaim your own higher self and security, because the world is crazy. So I think we need to be connecting with each other right now. We need to be leveraging our best talents, putting the right people in the right positions, and we need to be spending money with ourselves. We could sell to anybody, but group economics is one pillar of the foundation to restoration. But culture is more important than money, because money alone, if money is the whole thing, then you can be bought. And so therefore you can be disrupted, right? So money is not going to do it, but we had to have some money. So yeah, I think it's about all those things, and finding out like the least common denominators. Different people have different faith, religions, whatever. But if you're really interested in the truth, then I think you have to be flexible enough to explore and even objectively look at yourself, your own beliefs, your own things that you say are facts or whatever your ideology is, and just be able to compare it as a critical thinker against all the information and bodies of knowledge that's out there. And we should be able to come to some point of least common denominator that we need each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we had to make it, and that's traditionally how we've been left to our own selves. So, a lot of people just don't know about the true history of America, from the Gullah Wars, they call them the French and Indian Wars, but that was 200 years of warfare that's not properly taught to the so-called African Americans, that their forefathers was literally fighting in wars on the homeland for years. And so that's the whole trick, is, throw you off the trail, give it a different name, throw a little spin on it. It might be 5 different names and it's literally the same thing. So you have to break through the code of academia to see things for what they truly are. And hopefully this is a place where we can do that, So for me, I hope that people that hear this, will play their part, play their role. And that's all you can do. Play your part, play your role, be happy, and let the cards lay where they may. And just knowing that God got your back at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So be good, do good, and good will come to you. Pretty simple.
So, final question for you. Where can people find you, follow you, support your work, and connect with Steam Dreams Digital Dance Company?
Yes, absolutely. The best place to find me and see like updates of what I'm doing would be on LinkedIn, and that's just / my name, Jerone with an N, Dodd Jr. Steam Dreams is on every major platform: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Steam Dreams Game. You can also look it up on the website, steamdreams.io, digitaldanceculture.com. We also have a company called Block by Block Publishing. That's B, the number 3, hyphen PUB, pub.io. Yeah, man, reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive. But that's how you can find me.
So what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave for our audience tonight?
Yeah, you are enough. You can do it. And it starts with your own thoughts. So just be mindful of what you bring into yourself, because it definitely affects what comes out. So just be vigilant, guard yourself, and move with purpose, and things will happen for you.
So as I'm closing, well, before I close, what I like is, do you have a couple of minutes after I close the show to stick around?
Sure. Yes.
So I'd like to thank each and every individual that's supporting us, that has watched this episode, and you continuously watch each and every episode. I appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. For those of you that are watching on our YouTube channels, for those of you that are first-time watchers, or if you have not yet, I would appreciate it if you all would just support us by subscribing and enabling all notifications, so that every time we go live with our shows, you will get the shows, as well as you're able to go back and watch each and every episode of all of our great guests that have shared with you their methodologies and the things that they do to contribute to community growth, community building, and society in general and as a whole. So in closing, and that America is what it looks like when a man builds on purpose. Tonight, we got to sit with Jerone Dodd Jr., a man who played the game at the highest level and then decided the court wasn't big enough for everything he had to offer the world. We talked about basketball in Japan and how a young black man found himself in a foreign country and came back knowing more about who he was, the man he left, when he left. We talked about the 11,000 students and the 11,000 young lives touched, redirected, and empowered by one man's decision to pour into his community. We talked about Steam Dreams Digital Dance Company, about 30 plus comics and games, about internships and international exchange, about his father, the man who planted seeds that are still bearing fruit. And we talked about Black history, not as something in the past, but as something that lives in us, that we build every single day and every decision we make about how we show up in the world. Jerone, thank you for sharing your truth with us tonight. Thank you for the work. Thank you for refusing to be a footnote when you were clearly born to be a headline. To our audience, wherever you are watching, wherever you are streaming, remember this: your story is not finished. Your greatest chapter may still be ahead of you. Keep building, keep believing, keep pushing. I'm Charles King. This has been America in Black and White, because the truth is always somewhere in between. Good night, America. You'll have a great evening. We will see you guys tomorrow evening for another great show.